So, we've been talking about psychedelics here on the program, along with cannabis, on When I'm Out Podcasting. And there's a story that came from the New Yorker that came out just before the start of the new year that I thought was really interesting. Ketamine therapy, going mainstream. So, ketamine is now being shown that it can help people suffering from anxiety and depression. And all the questions that are being asked in this article is how it helps, who it will serve, and who will profit. Now, if you didn't know, ketamine is actually FDA approved as an anesthetic in 1970, and Park Davis, I guess a pharmaceutical, that began marketing under the brand name Ketalar. It's widely used by the U.S. military during the Vietnam War and remains a standard anesthetic in emergency rooms around the world. But now they're finding other uses for it. So there have been quite a few stories that have been done in terms of the research. Clinicians at Yale University have been using the drug to mimic the symptoms of schizophrenia, noticing that ketamine improved people's moods. And there was studying that was being done for treatment of depression. In 2006, the National Institute of Mental Health concluded that a single intravenous dose, IV dose of ketamine, had rapid antidepressant effects. And around 300 clinical trials have been held. The consensus broadly is that ketamine relieves symptoms of depression for more a period that can last days or weeks, during which time talk therapy often proves more effective than normal. Ketamine is what's called a dirty drug, meaning that it acts on different parts of the brain at once, and several theories about how it works against depression, but most focus on its effects on certain receptors in the brain and on the neurotransmitter glutamate. It's also been used by 2010. The doctors were using it as off-label use to acutely suicidal patients, and ketamine clinics began opening around the country. Now, the debates these days is less about whether it can treat depression than with how it works, which delivery method makes it most effective, and how drug companies and healthcare providers might best profit off a substance whose patent expired in the 1980s. Now, this story that I'm taking from the New Yorker, there's a lot that's being talked about when it comes to what psychedelics are able to do for anxiety and depression. Even at a point where the FDA approved a drug from Johnson & Johnson called Spravato, containing one of the two molecules in the original ketamine formulation, allowing the company to sell a more profitable, if not necessarily more effective, version of the drug. So anybody who is a self-referring depressive with several $100s on hand, who's not on the throes of active mania or psychosis, could seek out a wide array of clinical treatments with the drug. You could get an IV dose at a retail clinic by a anesthesiologist, a shot in the arm from a psychiatrist in private practice, an oral lozenge sent in the mail by a startup taking advantage of pandemic-era changes to the regulation of remote prescriptions. And if you go to the right city and you have sufficient funds, you might secure a legal therapist-guided mind-expanding trip at a clinic that advertises on Facebook, and it's funded by venture capital. There's a whole lot more this story talks about, but the fact that we're hearing more about this, it's a fascinating story. And all I wanted to do was point this out and let you know about it, because any kind of treatments like this are important. And hopefully we get somewhere to where psychedelics will be in the same discussion as cannabis, and there might be some more possibilities for treatments out there for those, especially when it comes to anxiety and depression, and for mental health in general. If this can be a game changer, let's see if it can be done that. Let's see if we can have that opportunity. I'd like to see where that all comes up and how it all works out. Anyway, that's all I had. Short segment this time around. I'll talk to you next time.